second city, but first in every team. Champion town, got trophies and them rings. Bulls on tap, we coming for everything. Yeah. On tap sports, we coming for everything. Yeah. It's apparent, nobody talking better than Melissa and Derek. They hate to compare it. Us and women's placed in the marriage, forever we cherish. Got opinions on the Bulls, who better to share it. I know you wish you can be cool as we foolishly and never be number one against our legends 2 and 3. Don't act like y'all don't know who you hear, who you see. Bulls on tap sports. Y'all know who we be, for real, word.
What's up, Bulls Nation? You are now tuned into another episode of the Bulls on Tap podcast, presented to you by On Tap Sports Network. I'm your host, Derek. My usual co-host, Melissa's experienced some technical difficulties, but should be able to hop on sooner or later. But I got my man Morris in the chat with us tonight. What's going on, Morris?
I'm chilling, man. How are y'all?
Good, man. We got a special guest with us. He's from the Bigs Media. He's one of the hosts of the By the Horns podcast. I know you see him interviewing Billy and players online for CHSN. Bulls on Tap alumni, Drew Stevenson, the one and only. What's going on, Drew?
What's going on?
What's going on, man? Thank you.
Man, thank you.
Happy. Yeah. We're happy to have you back, bro.
It's a ball to be here, man. Like we talked offline a second ago, man. For whatever reason, the stars never quite aligned for me to get on here with the old host Buzz and Goose. But I'm happy to be here with y'all. For real. Melissa, you good?
Yeah, let's see if we get a sound check on Melissa.
So your mic is showing it's muted. Still nothing. She does the tear.
I feel like I'm getting cheated out of the full like Bulls on Top, young Jordan and Melissa experience right now. This ain't right.
Miss, maybe try joining from your cell.
Yeah, it might. Yeah, cell phone.
like Drew said, this ain't right. Sort of like the Bulls. I mean, last night's game was not right. They lost to whoever the Hawks could scrape up out of the recycling bin to play. And they lost by 16 at home.
Hey, man. I was talking with one of the PR guys with the Bulls, and we were trying to figure out what was going to happen last night. And I was like, man, I think Zach will come out the way he did against the Wizards a few games ago and kind of put it away and clean this up pretty quickly. And he expressed some doubt and worry just about what was going to happen just because of what we've seen from this team so far this season. And lo and behold, his worries came to fruition. Anybody that's in the NBA, man, there's a certain level of respect. I think we got to pay them. I know that we all go get our jokes off here and there with certain players and certain things that happens in games, but they got some hoopers, man. My man Wallace was killing. Daquan Plowden came in and hit like a career high 5 threes. I guess that was his first game, so anything would be a career high. But yeah, man, you got to respect your opponent, and when you don't, they take advantage of you, and the Hawks did that last night for sure, almost from the word go.
Yeah, I mean, what they say is make or miss lead. You got to respect the opponent. Like, at the end of the day, I mean, these are all professional basketball players. So, there are no off nights. Not in 2024, 2025 NBA where parity exists, right? This is not 30 years ago where you could schedule wins.
Yeah. And again, because they had so many of their main rotation guys out, they, brought up a few two-way players. And then some of the younger guys on the roster got some run last night. And even though, Quinn Snyder's, I don't think he's going to supplant the guys we saw last night for the Jalen Johnsons and the DeAndre Hunters and the Trae Youngs of the world, like those guys still want to make a name for themselves and try to create as much of a buzz for themselves as they can. So they caught the Bulls lacking, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, Plowden, what he hadn't played any NBA minutes until last night and hit like 6 or 7 threes. And I've seen people on Twitter automatically saying, "Get ready to see him in a Bulls uniform next season."
Hey, stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I mean, like Keaton Wallace, he got off last night. Going 4 for 7 from 3. It just feels like it's always been one of those classic things in this era of the Bulls where it's just like, which rando is going to like tee off from 3, and we got it last night.
We did. It was so weird because Bogdanovich didn't shoot the ball well. Krejci didn't shoot the ball well, but the guys that we just talked about, they filled it up. They took advantage of their opportunities, and man, they turned what was looking like an opportunity for the Bulls to kind of right their home record to the point now where if they end up losing to the Hornets on Friday night, they're going to finish this 5-game homestand 1-4. When we was looking at this thing like, man, they might be able to get back on the right side of the ledger, but this is the Bulls that we've come to know over the last few seasons. They show us glimpses of what they can do. A lot of that, I think, is, especially this season, based on a lot of shooting variants. But, man, the Jekyll and Hyde Bulls show to begin.
I was just that comments the comments wild.
Hey,
I don't know.
We all asked this.
Man, we found out last night.
Apparently, he's a shooter. At least he gets us. But the 22 turnovers, that definitely did not help.
Not at all. Not at all.
I know that's supposedly it comes with playing fast, and Giddey's always been kind of known for reckless turnovers, but that it was just especially bad last night.
It was.
It felt like it kind of was a carryover from the Pelicans game, like the first half of the first game of the back-to-back, because I mean the Pelicans turned over the Bulls quite a bit to the tune of what? So the Bulls had 15 turnovers against the Pelicans, and then what you said 22. So it's like that might have been one of the worst stretches of ball handling in a back-to-back I've seen the Bulls in years.
Yeah, I want to say that first game against the Pelicans, they had 20-something turnovers too, the season opener.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, there is some truth into the fact that with them playing as fast as they want to play and having to make quicker decisions than maybe some offenses who don't play quite as fast, there is some truth to that. There's going to be some gaps that you have, but last night I felt like they were just kind of like just reckless, careless turnovers. There's plays where Josh Giddey gets by his man and kind of gets to the top of the key or inside the lane, have a foot in the lane, and he like is trying to kick a pass out behind him, almost to the point where he's getting caught in the air. I think that happened a couple of times. Just carelessness with the basketball. Patrick Williams, I think that happened to him a time or two, either off the pass or off the dribble. So I don't know how you rein that in. It's almost like with this team, if one player starts to do it, it becomes a domino effect, and it just starts to carry over to everybody where nobody can get a grip on the ball. Nobody can make a safe and secure pass. Obviously, I think not having Lonzo Ball affected things because we know how he impacts games when he's out there, how much fun he is to watch. But he kind of is almost like a calming force like a calming force for this team, even without being maybe not necessarily the vocal leader. But just we've seen what he does for them on offense and defense, getting them easy baskets. Defensively, obviously, he still is probably the best two-way guy on this team, if not second best this season. Either him or Ayo, I would assume most people would kind of have those guys ranked at the top of this roster. So again, man, Bulls just continue to show people why this roster just isn't it. I know that we came into the season, many of us not expecting to see them reel off a ton of victories, and that even though they have kind of overachieved where we think they may have been able to get this season, they're still 18-23. They're playing a more exciting brand of basketball, I would say. Like, a lot of people have an issue with the amount of threes that are attempted from game to game throughout the NBA. But considering what we saw from this team when DeMar DeRozan was on it, and I have no issues with DeMar. DeMar is who he is. Like, we know what it is with him, man. He's going to be lethal in the mid-range. He's going to be methodical in the way that he gets buckets. But to see this change in and of itself, like to go from that to what they're doing now, there is a certain level of entertainment that comes with that. I'm not going to, poo-poo that style or whatever the case may be. And of course, it does kind of fit with the roster and the personnel, but things got to change. And I know Casey Johnson has come out recently and said that the team they want to be sellers. They know that this rebuild or retool that they're trying to do, young players that they're trying to bring in, like, that's not over. It's still a process. I just, haven't seen 3 years of inactivity at the trade deadline. I have a hard time believing that something is going to change between now and February 6th, unfortunately. But like you guys, I'm waiting to see. And I would be, glad to be wrong about that.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question about that for sure, because what I'm noticing personally, let's talk about like last night in Billy's postgame presser. This is just my own personal observation, my own editorial. I'm not suggesting there's anything in it, but I feel like the last maybe 4 or 5 games, there's just been like a slight knob tweak upward. Like, I feel like Billy's becoming more animated, and at the same time, I'm going to give full credit to what you collectively as a beat writing group are doing right now. I feel like y'all asking the necessary questions, and at the same time, unfortunately, Billy's kind of the de facto person answering them, even though those aren't all his questions, right? Right. Julia Pope kind of kicked it off, I think, with her column a week or two ago, where she really talked about this is a consequential trade deadline for Arturas Karnisovas. You and Joe Cali both had great questions about what do you guys do with this trade deadline coming up? How do you not consider the roster moves? And then Cali followed up, I assume, from the kind of conversation, that short little conversation that both you and Cali had with Billy last night, put a pretty poignant takedown. Takedown might be a strong word, but he really went after Arturas today in his latest column. What are you seeing in that room game to game now when you're having the conversations with Billy? What is perhaps the beat? What is that? What is the expectation to be is really getting at this point for Arturas in the February 6th trade deadline?
The expectation of us who are on the beat of what may happen.
Yeah.
I think some people think that something may happen. I don't know if there's a great sense that something significant will happen. But I think it's either, that they do something, again, not quite as significant, or nothing at all. I'm kind of the mindset that because they are, as we speak now, I think 4.5 games out of 6th place in the Eastern Conference, even though they're 5 games under 500, I'm worried that Arturas is going to get kind of emotional and clouded by the standings, and he's going to stand pat, because I don't think he can be a buyer. I don't think there's anybody that he can trade that's going to get him somebody better right now for this roster, if he were to be a buyer, I'm saying. So I think when you take that into consideration, he ends up standing pat. Again, I love to be pleasantly surprised, but that's just kind of where I am with it right now. we kind of are asking ourselves, like right before Billy comes in to do the post game press conference, like, man, what are we doing here? Not us as the beat, but just as a franchise. Like, where is this thing going? Like, there's so many competing priorities here. Things aren't fitting together seamlessly like a puzzle. And even if you want to throw Billy into that category, like, I enjoy talking to Billy. I don't think that he deserves quite the bad rap that I've seen him get on Twitter. But he's not a perfect coach by any stretch of the imagination. And I think that maybe part of his reactions that you're seeing, Mo, that you spoke about the last 4 or 5 games, is just human nature. I think having to be called to the table for things that aren't totally in your control, especially after these last 3 losses, and this one in particular last night, where, in my opinion, was the worst of the season. Human nature. Like, I think you're gonna start to kind of see the teeth come out a little bit, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for the people who didn't see, the question you asked Billy, and we're going to pull that up.
All right.
It's a little slow, but
Billy, to kind of piggyback off of Joe's question, some of the things that you're saying now, the team now responding to adversity or letting whether or not their shots are going in dictate the defense. 11 games into the trade deadline. If the front office comes to you with some ideas they want to pose to you about what moves they can make, at this point, how can you not approve of something that may come across your desk?
Well, first of all, those are not my decisions, and I'm not the final say-so. Or someone asks me, do I have like veto power? I don't, right? But the one thing about it is they've included me on it. They've obviously asked my opinions on things, but ultimately I'm not the final decision maker. We do communicate on those things. I really like this team. I don't know what will happen, but I really like this group. I think that, they've done a 180, in terms of how we tried to play stylistically. We've had 3 games in a row here where I don't think that we've played to the level or to our identity like we have. I think for the most part, this group's been pretty good, in terms of we've had some games that we had some opportunities that we let slip away, but for the most part, I really felt like we kind of bounced back. So, I mean, I've enjoyed the group. I think maybe Joe or somebody mentioned about, being stuck in the middle, so to speak, with our team. I don't view it that way when you're in the moment. Like, you're just talking about competing and just coaching and these guys playing. I'm not looking like, how do we find a way to win against Sacramento or win against New Orleans or win teams? Like, how do you find a way to do that? So they've been kind enough that through my time here, they've always come to me and spoken to me when something's there. But my focus is on how do we get this group playing at a level that we've shown that we're capable of. And I don't want to sit there and speculate that they got down and frustrated by missing shots. But I do know when things don't go our way or the game gets hard, we have to have more resiliency in the face of adversity. And we have to respond and rise up above difficulties and challenges.
Last one.
So he says that in the moment, he doesn't see the teams being stuck in the middle. But like earlier that day, he was asked a similar question about an Athletic, and he was like, yeah, we don't want to be in the middle, but hopefully we'll have internal development that gets us out of the middle.
Yeah.
So in my mind, Billy is a mid-ass coach, but he would be a great politician.
For sure. Billy is again, I think that is part of his value to the front office, is that he can be a spokesperson for the franchise while Arturas and Mark, only resort to talking to us 3 times a year. He can be the mouthpiece for those guys. Unfortunately, he has to take a lot of kind of pointed questions as to the direction of this franchise and what they need to be doing and why certain things aren't happening and why this is happening. So it's a little I don't want to say unfair. That might be a little putting too much sauce on it, but it's not a favorable position to be in. But I do think that's part of his value to Arturas and Mark. And again, he's a coach. He shouldn't have to worry about, what's going to happen this summer or necessarily, what the front office can get for Zach or Vooch or Torrey Craig or Lonzo Ball or Ayo Dosunmu and Kobe. Well, that's not really his priority. He's trying to win games, as the players are. This all comes back to the front office, and Arturas set it up this way. He set this up for the Bulls to overachieve, because of his inaction, because of having 1 foot in the revamp lane and 1 foot still in the decisions he made in 2021, 22. So he's living on both sides of the fence right now. And, as a Bulls fan, a lifelong Bulls fan who's now been able to kind of see the other side of the curtain and to be in a position humbly to cover this team and try to be a voice for the fans, like, I want to see them change something up. I want to see them not be so paralyzed, it seems, by whatever it is they're paralyzed by that's not allowing them to go one way or the other, or, to make some of the decisions that they've made. I think that it's just crazy, like, how the front office, Arturas in particular, because he's kind of the front man, seems to have decreased in his level of appreciation for draft picks. And it seems like his whole motto now is getting guys kind of on the tail end of their first contract, the Josh Giddeys of the world, or, Jalen Smith, who I thought was a good pickup, but he wants those guys who have a little bit of experience. But I just don't think that's going to do you much if you're not also trying to build through the draft, because Chicago is not a landing spot for the type of free agent or a trade acquisition that's going to be the A1 player to fit amongst the other A1 players in the league that are actually going to take you to somewhere meaningful. So, man, I'm waiting like y'all, man. I'm waiting like y'all to see where this goes from here to February 6th. Because if no moves are made and then we got to go from February 6th on, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I want to bounce this thought off of you, Drew, because you just, like, I've had this thought every time I've heard the phrase that you just mentioned, and, AK himself has said this, right? He's talked about how his regime, they value these players that are young but yet have experience. I just find that to be a peculiar statement if there's supposed to be an investment in player development, right? Because in a way, I feel like if you just logically pull that thread, is the player development not enough to where you can actually put like a modest Booz Ellis into more like broader responsibility and trust that your player development that you tout, your Peter Pattons and so forth, they are helping these players who are young but don't have as much experience actually progress. Like it's just, I don't know. I feel like that's a contradiction to a degree. They're like, run with this. Yeah, I feel like that's a conversation that needs to be brought to AK's like attention as well. I would love to hear him talk about that. Like, why young players with experience, but like young players without experience, they seem to like continue to struggle.
Yeah, and I to that point, it's kind of weird. Also, it's almost like he, how do I want to say this? He doesn't trust his own draft process, right? Like if you are willing to give up lottery picks, if you're not willing to do what you need to do to retain your own lottery pick with a team who everybody can see is not really headed in any way meaningful, what does that say about your thought process of how you evaluate players? It's another one of those disappointing things, those confounding things that just have thrown a lot of people for a loop. Like I remember when AK first got into office and he traded for Vooch, I'm not gonna lie, like I was excited. And I think a part of that excitement was just because it was something new, something fresh. Part of it was because of Wendell Carter Jr.'s injury history and his inconsistency here, which, you know, maybe stemmed from, again, a lack of stability within the coaching staff with Jim Boylan. But yeah, man, it's a lot of questions. It's a lot of questions that need to be answered. And I hope that we're allowed to get those off when the time presents itself.
Missy, you good now?
I don't know. You tell me.
Hey.
Yeah.
Oh, you can
There
hear
we go.
me?
Yeah.
I'm on my phone, so let's see how long this lasts.
What's
Like,
going
you was over there
on?
looking 4K, so I was the mic's got to be working there.
Sharp.
I don't know if I like that. I might want to go back to my laptop.
Shout out Oliver Brown in the comments. He thinks a major problem the Bulls have right now is the young core. It's just that young. There's not a starter on anybody else's team. They're bench players, and you can't continue to run those bench players out there as those young guys out there with no experience, low ball IQ, and expect them to win.
There's something to be said. I mean, there's
Yeah.
there's something to be said about that. The thing about like, it's not a starter, so to speak, and like I might probably rephrase that in saying that, like, at least my own observation, right? Like the Bulls, I'll use this analogy I've used before. Like, it's like the Bulls, they obsess over getting the best iPhone accessories in the world, but they have not shown any intention to actually buy an iPhone yet. Like, just straight up, like the Dragic, Drummond, like we go and get these we keep getting these role players, and like that's our big thing is like, oh, look at the role players we got. Like, when do we actually go get the 1A all NBA like superstar that's supposed to take us somewhere?
And how are you supposed to get them if you are shunning the draft for free agency and free agency and the trades? Like, yeah, I'm with you. And I think might have been like a week ago where Joe Cali was asking Billy about some of these things and, you know, trying to draft an A1 player. And Billy made the comment about who's to say this draft pick would be any good. I hated that answer. He also talked about how it's important to build depth because in this league nowadays, like, you got to have depth. And with the style of play that he wants to, you know, have his team run, depth comes into play as well, which I agree with, but you still need that guy. And again, because we've seen history has told us how the Bulls have gotten the best players in history for this franchise. I would think you wouldn't want to just completely poo-poo draft picks, you know? And not to say that maybe I'm putting the wrong kind of spin on it, but I think you guys know what I mean. Like, you should have more of a desire to use the draft. That's what he preached when he first came in this introductory press conference. He talked about how he wanted to build through the draft and use player development. Now it's not quite that. You know, he's enlisted the help of Peter Patton, and Peter Patton, I think, has seemingly done a good job. This is he's a year and a half into the gig, if I'm not mistaken. So, you know, time will tell. But to this point, I think we would all agree he's doing the best he can with what he has to work with. But it's still that piece of the draft that's missing that I don't quite get, you know, why he's not using that. When he talks to us, when AK talks to us, when the front office talks to us, there's certain things that he's just not going to say just because it's, you know, the way it's going to look. But through his actions, he's telling us as much, you know? So I don't know what to tell you guys, man. We're all just, I'm telling you, like, from game to game, it's just like, when's the other shoe going to drop? You know, there are some, that's not to say there aren't good storylines. Like, I think Lonzo Ball is the storyline of the year for the Bulls, maybe for the NBA. Like, this is ridiculous, man. It's ridiculous what he's doing. the confidence that he's playing with, he hasn't once looked at all worried about his knee. You know, he's diving for loose balls. He's getting chased down blocks, calling for lobs. He's getting dunks. He's attacking 50-50 balls as if nothing has ever happened to him. And again, that has been like the story of the year for me for the Bulls in terms of things I've looked for outside of what roster moves they're going to make. Man, he's been awesome, man. He really has. Modest Buzelis, the times that we have seen him on the court, hasn't always been pretty, but he's a rookie. Like, that's to be expected. I'm very much looking forward to his development and him putting on some more muscle, getting stronger in his legs and his core, so that when he goes to that first move and he's playing against somebody who has a frame on him, he doesn't automatically have to shift to plan B. Like, he can just kind of, again, use his frame, his grown man frame when he gets it, to continue on with that plan A and not have to spin, you know, not be able to get turned off his first move. And I think it'll come, but it's going to take some time.
Yeah, the thing about Modest, like my agenda this year really has been about Modest's defense, because it's you can't quantify it all, but every time I see him in defensive possession, he is showing he's showing growth like game to game for like what he can do as a defender. I think the highlight for me by far has been when we played Cleveland early in the season. He took up Donovan Mitchell on ball as a rookie, cut him off. Like, Mitchell did not drive on him. And I just thought that was like incredibly impressive for like a 18, 19-year-old, only played like his third or fourth ever NBA game. And it's Donovan Mitchell. And it's like, you know, people can debate about like where he stands in the league, but I consider Donovan Mitchell to be a top 15 tier type player. And like he's a certified killer when he wants to be, right? So I think people really need to continue, like, pay attention to Miles on the defensive side. Like, the shot is whatever, his offense is whatever. He's rookie and it's going to take some time to get there. But like, the reason why I want Miles on the floor is because I truly believe he can make defensive impacts right now that will compound if he's given that time to work through all sort of the bumps and the rookie bumps.
Yeah, we've certainly seen flashes of it, to your point. Not only in those moments where he shows that he can defend on the island against some of the better scorers, ball handlers in the league, but just that help defense. And, you know, again, he's going to make mistakes. Veterans on this team make mistakes, especially on the defensive side of the ball, when they're getting put in rotations and we see guys almost looking like they've never played defense together before, like they're strangers on the court. So, you know, in terms of earning minutes, it's every game it gets a little harder to kind of swallow that, you know, because it's like, because of his ability to track shots down and to help, to use his frame and his length, it's like you can really use that, you know, given the amount of times that the Bulls are beat off the dribble and, you know, are trying to challenge shots at the rim. We've seen Patrick, like in years past, be a good help defender and help protect the rim, but Modest looks like something different. And like you, Mo, like I'm excited to see where his development leads him and what more he can do as he continues to develop and learn and take his lumps too. But that's part of the process. That's part of the journey.
I might have missed, but what is your opinion on like Modest getting more minutes with his, like, you know, he, as we all know, he's like an elite rim protector, and like you said, the help defense. He's great. He's only 20 years old. Do you think that he should be getting more minutes too, or are you of the opinion like he's got to earn his minutes? And like even the last game, he was hot like the first half, and then he got sat. He got pulled, and Pat got put in the game, and you know how that goes. I'm trying to catch up to see if I missed anything, if we're double speaking.
No, we're fresh in the minds, actually. No, that's a great question.
Yeah, no, you're good. I definitely think he should be getting more minutes. But again, that just goes back into how these things are not fitting properly with this team, just because where it is, it's kind of stuck in limbo because certain roster moves have not been made. And again, Billy wants to win, and his thought process, I'm sure, is that Patrick Williams has to be out there because of what he's done defensively in the past. Torrey Craig at times has to be out there because he's a tried and true vet who, you know, we've seen come in and make plays for this team, but that just leads you back to why? Like, why? what's really the things that are at stake for this team are not like playoff positioning and championship aspirations. It's, in my mind, the biggest thing that's at stake is this draft pick. And I understand that even if it doesn't convey this year, like if the Bulls keep it, they're going to go through the same thing next season. But so what? We're in the here and now right now. Let's worry about here and now. They've already probably ruined, I mean, not say ruined, they've already kind of eliminated themselves from being in the bottom 6 where that would guarantee them of keeping that pick. But I think they still need to keep it regardless. They're going to be very reliant. They have to rely on Lady Luck to sneak into the top part of that draft, but they need to at least keep the pick, regardless if it's going to end up being high enough where they can choose a Cooper Flagg or a Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey, whoever have you. Like, they need to have this pick because they need more bites at the apple. They need more young talent. And the only way to do that is to fall into that bottom 10.
Yeah, I want to piggyback this quick thing too about the pick, because I have noticed like there's this minor civil war in Bulls Nation that's been happening this season, like, you know, the quote unquote the tankers and the anti-tankers. You know, like it's a business decision that needs to happen. It's the right business decision, because you have to look at the simple fact that, like, you know, the history of the Bulls ownership group, and, you know, AK spoke to it himself, right? There is this unfortunate thing called the luxury tax, and that is a pronounced constraint on the ability of the Bulls to build out that roster and to get talent in the roster, because they choose to hard cap themselves at the luxury tax. Well, you know, one of the best ways to get talent is get talent on a rookie scale contract.
Yeah,
and that's what personally frustrates me, because it's like, if you're not going to go into the tax, that's cool. But you can't be flippant about the ability to get good cost control talent into this franchise. And I think that's a big part of like why we continue to sit in the middle, right? Is because we don't spend tax on stars, and we don't want to like do the right thing to get like a superstar on the cheap.
Yeah, it's another kind of confounding piece of that puzzle where it's like, why are you not valuing draft picks the way you said you would when you first got here? That's a great point about rookie scale contracts and the flexibility that it gives you, because you know what this ownership group is going to spend and what it's not going to spend. It's a little bit of a mess, man. It's a little bit of a mess.
Is AK maybe scared about drafting, being that, you know, he took Patrick Williams at 4, and he's maybe kind of afraid, like, oh, what if I pick another Patrick Williams and people are really going to come for my head?
I don't know. I wish I could answer that question, man. I don't know. I don't know. They are like in this frame of mind where they want to uphold this integrity of the game and the spirit of competition. I don't know, guys. All I know is Arturas kind of alluded to the fact that he's learn from his mistakes, or that this past season has provided him the opportunity to try to learn from his mistakes, but that has yet to be seen. Will he learn from the mistake of not taking advantage of the multiple second-round picks that were available reportedly for Andre Drummond, just to have Drummond go to the team that was offering the multiple second-round picks in the offseason? Is he going to allow that to happen with Torrey Craig? I don't know. Is he going to learn from the mistake of waiting too long to move DeMar DeRozan? Is that the same thing that's going to happen with, brace yourselves, I know Mo might know where I'm going with this. Is he going to allow that to happen with a Kobe White or Ayo Dosunmu, who are very high? You got to believe that they are like the most valuable assets on this team just because of the contracts that they're on. I don't know if he is moving in that type of proactive manner. Again, is he going to learn from that mistake though and actually do that? Like, he can't be tied to emotion. He can't be ruled by emotion or the emotion that led him to keep that team together past the trade deadline last season. We heard Mark Eversley say he felt like they needed to give that group another shot. No, like take that out of it. Take that out of it. You guys want to build a championship team. Show us that you want to build a championship team. Can you do the things that you need to do that? We have yet to see that happen, but this is another opportunity for them to show us that they've learned from the mistakes of their past.
It needs to happen. I mean, this roster's been together for like 3 years, darn near already. So it's kind of crazy to just see the same things happening over and over again, which is pretty much nothing, and expecting something different to come from it. And like the development of the rookies, at least, is what we should be looking forward to most right now. And that's why I was asking about Matas. I know I'm going backwards, but it's crazy trying to like figure out the direction of what the front office is trying to achieve. Like, it's very confusing. It's very confusing.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Oh no, go ahead.
What's that song that "Why Don't You Meet Me in the Middle"? I picture AK playing that in his office all day, because that's got to be like his favorite song, the slogan, because we've been in the middle since he took over.
Our record is like the same as it was the last 2 years, too, halfway through the season. I mean, I think we're down 1 loss versus
we're down
the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I truly am growing in fear that like Zach LaVine is going to play out that entire max contract as a Chicago Bulls player. Like I just don't see an avenue where AK is going to like get a deal done ever. Like that's just maybe I'm being hyperbolic, but it's just like I feel like he completely like dropped the ball on that.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't shown you evidence to the otherwise, so I totally get it. I think that he was right to not want to do the purported deal that we saw from Denver. I really wasn't feeling that. Like when the news first came out, I was like, oh, okay, it was news because it seemed like somebody was finally going to bite on Zach, but kind of taking a step back away from it. I don't think the Bulls in this position right now are going to win a deal involving Zach LaVine, but you can't just get obliterated in it either. Like you can't take a player on, like in my opinion, in MPJ, who I think is going to be a worse player elsewhere than he is with Nikola Jokic.
100%.
Still making damn near as much as Zach, so you're not really getting off the money for real. And then you would have had to take on Zeke Naji, who has not lived up to the contract that he got. So you don't. That's not the deal I think that they should have been looking for in terms of moving off Zach. I do think that if that is all they are being offered right now, then they're right to keep him through this deadline. Try to move him again in the summer. He'll have one less year on his contract. Hopefully, knock on wood, he'll stay healthy. He'll continue to play at this ultra efficient level. And teams that may be on the fence about picking him up now will change their tune in the summertime. But guys like Torrey Craig, and again, even a Kobe White and Ayo Dosunmu, like you have to be trying to see what you can get for those guys, especially Torrey Craig, because and for all intents and purposes, he's not coming back. He's not coming back. And I know he has this injury reportedly, so I don't know how that's affecting the offers, but if there's any way that you can get something for him, I think you have to take that. You have to take that deal. If nothing else, like you have to take that deal. I'll be disappointed if that's the only move that's made, but it would be like a small token if he at least does that. You know,
Yeah.
that's not giving him a pass at all. That's not even a passing grade, but at least do that. Like that's got to be a gimme, you know.
Yeah, I mean to just like move the like borderline non-rotational guy on the roster, like that could be like at least something.
Yeah. You would think.
Drew, I saw you tweet earlier about some rival execs thinking that it'd be a first-round pick that would pry Vooch away from the Bulls. Is that like, would they think Chicago would only give Vooch away for, or is that like something that may be realistic where the Bulls can get a first round pick for Vooch?
So from what I read, that was Michael Scottow's report from Hoops Hype. It read like he was saying that's what the Bulls are looking for in return for Vooch. And we know that it's been reported that the Bulls, are overvaluing their players and are asking for too much. But I mean, with the season that Nikola Vucevic is having, I get it. But there's only so much choosing a beggar can do. So we'll see, man. We'll see.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, oh, this is definitely the Bulls asking price, and nobody is going to give a first round pick for Vooch.
Yeah, not in this environment. But also like if that truly is like what AK is asking, it just like it becomes another mark, another like borderline indictment on him of like, where is your executive presence in like understanding your market, understanding your surroundings? You have a brand new collective bargaining agreement that largely you kind of like priced yourself out of, like well in advance with perhaps Zach's max contract. You definitely have priced yourself out of it with like Patrick Williams' deal. Like there's no way you can be asking for a first round pick for Vooch when somehow like the Wolves got like they got first round pick with the Randall thing, right? Somehow.
Mm-hmm.
Or one side like first round picks are basically out. Like nobody's getting picks anymore. Like second round picks is what people deal.
Yeah, it's almost like he's trying to do enough to say, well, I tried. But how serious are you really if you're knowing what the market is and you're still not trying to come off your price a little bit in order to, save the future of the franchise, so to speak? Like, I hate to put it that dramatically, but it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt, But then again, the negotiations that we've seen or that we've heard from, the deals that we've seen this front office make, doesn't really inspire much confidence that he can get the best out of a deal, or that he can come away from a deal with us feeling like he won the deal. Like he does a good job with free agent contracts in terms of like the Ayo Dosunmus and the Kobe Whites of the world, Alex Caruso when he signed him. But in terms of like trades, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't know. The negotiations just don't. I don't necessarily get the. I don't get them. I don't get them.
Yeah. I think the two major tests come up for AK. I mean, obviously it's this trade deadline, but then this summer, Josh Giddey's restricted free agency. I feel like he's got to win one or the other. Frankly, probably both. And if he doesn't, the kind of scrutiny that he is generating right now, I don't see how it doesn't stop becoming a hotter and hotter spotlight on his head, because you definitely can't do with Giddey what you just did with Patrick Williams. And even like, to be honest, like I thought it was a decent deal at the time, Patrick's deal, because like you look at 18 per year and it's not anything crazy with the escalation, but it's just like, did it have to be 5 years? Did it have to have a player option? Like those are the nuances that like that's what probably needs more scrutiny about AK.
Yeah, it was a player option for me because too often guys are getting these player options where, again, you are kind of handicapping yourself in your future moves because you don't control all the pieces on your roster and who's going to be here, who's not going to be here. I think Tony Bradley had a player option. I'm pretty sure Javon Carter has one. Obviously, Torrey Craig had one or has one. Had one, I'm sorry. Andre Drummond exercised his a couple summers ago before his last season with the Bulls. So I don't know, man. He hands those out like candy for whatever reason. And again, it just goes back to like these negotiations. I don't quite understand them. And I think they just need to reevaluate how they do business and how they want to build this roster. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Yeah, it's just I don't know, man. I'm at a loss for words a lot of times trying to figure out what's happening and what's going to happen.
I mean, Pat's trade restriction I think dropped yesterday, so he's eligible to be traded. Does he have any trade value? Especially with the article Julia Poe released today where he's talking about he has to start practicing on how to dunk.
Yeah, I read that. That was a good article about Julia. Julia does great work. Pat just seems to be in a rut, man. I'm not sure what exactly it is. I think we all have our own assumptions or ideas of what it could be. Pat just kind of seems to be in his own head, like especially offensively. You know, I don't know how much more the team can do, Billy can do to make him feel empowered offensively. I would think that with the amount of passers they have on his team, that he can start taking advantage of some of that and use back cuts, use moving without the ball to generate easy points for himself. Get out in transition, run the floor, use your athleticism. Like, he is athletic. I know, we've got our jokes off about the amount of missed dunks that he's had this season. I think he's got 5 missed dunks. Just made his 4th of the season the other night, but get some easy buckets for yourself so you can see something go in, and then it kind of hopefully build some confidence, and you kind of build from there.
What have you seen in Pat? It seems like I'll at least question it from just my own opinion. Like, I do question, like, is Pat like in terms of his physical status, like, is he really like 1% back? Because it just seems like this season compared to his previous seasons, there's just like a step that's missing with him, and certainly on the defensive side, it's just he isn't moving quite the way I think we're accustomed to, and it seems like it's probably carrying over into like just how he carries himself offensively. And honestly, when I think about like the moments this season where he has looked like the most confident, it's almost been like only when he's been in those small ball 5 situations where he's been able to post up. Like, he's not even trying to like take, like, not that his handle is necessarily something I want to keep seeing, but like he's not even attempting to do much off the dribble anymore.
Yeah, so I haven't personally gotten the chance to ask him about how he feels about his conditioning. And with Pat, I know with his recent history, it's hard to kind of get a bead on it because he's been known to kind of keep things close to the vest. Even from coaches. I think that happened last season with this original foot injury. He was trying to play through it and not telling the coaching staff exactly what was going on, just because he wanted to, be, as tough as he could be to try to work his way through it, and be able to play in spite of, and it ended up burning him a little bit. I think the best he's looked at times was like in transition when he gets the rebound and he pushes it against an unset defense, and he kind of uses that to his advantage, getting downhill, getting guys who are backpedaling, again, trying to get back on D and using that to his strengths and trying to get to the rim that way. But other than that, it's been a roller coaster ride, man. Like, whenever he catches it on the wing and he kind of goes into the inside out dribble, like, at this point, I'm kind of almost bracing myself for him to lose the ball, man. Unfortunately, I'm not really sure what's going on with that there. I have some hope that if he can stay healthy, if he can have like a whole offseason to continue to work on his game, maybe that will change something. Like, I don't want to go all out on Pat. I know I still have my reservations and my doubts about what he can be, but I don't want to. Like, I just want to see another offseason or see what he can do with another offseason, trying to build on his game. Because I'm sure that had to have had some sort of effect on him coming into the season, not being able to train the way he would have otherwise. So, if he can talk to the coaches, talk to Billy, ask him what he needs to do, feels like he needs to do an offseason to tighten things up, I'm sure ball handling will be one of them. I also wonder maybe if weight-wise, like, is he playing at a way he feels comfortable being at, or would he prefer to be slimmer? Is that part of what it is? Is it just solely due to that foot and not feeling totally comfortable and confident and as athletic as he once did? I don't know. These are questions that I hope to ask him or somebody else on the beat if they haven't already. But I don't want to be totally out on Pat, man. Pat, and a lot of people not gonna care. Pat's a good dude, man. I don't know what the block is. I don't know why he has to be told so many times, like, man, you have the talent, you have the skill, you have the athleticism. I'm sure guys wish they had his body and can, use that to their advantage on a basketball court. But whatever it is, like, there's just something that isn't quite clicking with him. This is what, year 5 now?
5.
Yeah, it's fifth season.
Yeah, I'm holding out hope that, again, I'm not talking about like all-star level, but just we see a more consistent version of him where there's not flashes every 4th or 5th game, and it's just more of a, okay, we see what we can get from him now. It's not 9-4 every game. Maybe it's 12-7, which is still, they're moderate numbers, but it's at least a little pushed up. I asked Quinn Snyder before the game against Atlanta kind of what he thought helped DeAndre Hunter break out. I think DeAndre Hunter is a year ahead of Patrick Williams, but they kind of got a little similarities, 3-and-D types. Both have had injuries in their career, have dealt with criticism in terms of them not meeting their potential. And Quinn just said some of the same things that we hear about Pat, like that DeAndre Hunter is a worker. He works tirelessly on his game, but he also talked about how the offense that they run kind of fits what he wants to do. And again, it just had me kind of go back and think about what this team is trying to do now with the quicker pace and why that doesn't seem to click with Pat. Like you would think it would, getting out on the break, taking advantage of mismatches, whatever have you, guys driving and kicking and you being free on the perimeter to fire from long range, or drive on closeouts, get to the rim, maybe get fouled. I'm not really sure what's happening. It's almost like Pat thinks of himself as a mid-range shooter. He wants to play in the middle of the court, almost like DeMar, but he doesn't have that. He's not solid enough in those areas to do that, not yet, maybe one day. So I don't know what the missing thing is there, man. Again, I would think that this offense would kind of help him get some easy baskets, and you take advantage of Josh Giddey's court vision. We've seen him hit Zach LaVine on the baseline. Damn, it feels like once a game. Pat, move. Cut, use, try to get some more motor about yourself, so that you're not having to work so hard. You're not having to try to take guys off the dribble where your handle is not so sure right now. There's things he can do, I think, to help himself. But as has been the case pretty much every year with him, he's not doing those things consistently, unfortunately.
It seems to be like solely mental with him, and that's what I've been saying this whole time, because you see it, like we talk about all the time, the flashes, but it's always like he's overthinking every single move, and his motor is like, he has no motor, first of all, but it's like the confidence piece. Like even the thing that we could hang our hat on with his defense regressed so badly over like since last season. And I don't know what's going on. He's like missing assignments and he's just slowed everything. I know he put on like a little weight, but he's just so unsure of himself, and it's so frustrating to watch. I hope he gets it together, but I don't know what it's going to take. And yeah, I'm sure he's a great guy and everything, and he seems that way. And we've got to talk to his brother Derek and I like 2 seasons ago, and we heard a little background of like how he grew up and how he was when he was a kid and playing in high school and stuff like that. So hearing stories like that kind of made things click for us. But man, you're like a professional NBA player now. You're in your 5th season. You got to use your body, like just do what you do, because it's just a lot of overthinking. And for me, it's like, it's got to be purely mental. And like you said, like I do the same thing every time he's handling the ball a little too long. I'm always worried he's going to dribble it off his foot. And even again, the defensive assignments, I'm like, oh God, he's going to get cooked. Like this season, I didn't feel like that last season, but this season, I'm like, oh gosh, like watching him, he's just like, it's his head is like not in the game. I don't know if something else is going on in the background that we don't know about, but yeah, it's very frustrating to watch.
It is.
Back in the
is.
beginning of this season, so I wrote the season preview for Bulls on Tap, and I had Patrick Williams section in there. The thing that comes to mind from that preview, and I think it's still unfortunately valid right now, is like I think we're beyond the point with Patrick Williams where like we should even be talking about like what pick he was drafted at. Like I think it's beyond that. I don't even think it's an upside conversation anymore about Patrick Williams. I just simply want Patrick to find a single thing in the game that he can commit himself to being consistent in. Just literally anything. Like lock in on rebound, like crash the boards, decide that you're going to become like a great, short roll passer or something, like just anything where you can impact the game and it is beyond like, your box score. Like there are just things where it's like, it's kind of to that point now where it's like, we're not looking at you to carry, like, we don't care. Like you're probably never going to be a top 3 option period at this point. Like given like what you demonstrate in terms of scoring or ball handling, any of that stuff, you just have to find the ways to be crafty and help the other 4 guys accomplish something in possessions.
I agree with you wholeheartedly, man. And that's almost similar to what Billy told us a couple of days ago, where he just talked about how he wants Pat to be felt. Like we need to feel you out on the court, whether it be, to your point, Mo, like rebounding, defense, little things, 50-50 balls, whatever the case may be. Like we need to feel you out there. And he just, again, Melissa, you said it, like his motor just doesn't align with that. Like he's just not that type of player. We were fortunate enough to watch Joakim Noah play. Like that dude motor runs hot 24/7. Like it still runs hot. Those interviews with that he did with D Rose, like you see him like revving up. Some guys just don't work that way, unfortunately. And to your earlier question, Melissa, about Modest, come the second half of the season, I would like if we continue to see these struggles from Pat, the defense in general on this team, we know it's kind of suspect. Why not throw Modest out there just to see what he can give you? Give him a different look. Maybe to help Pat. Obviously they didn't draft him to come off the bench, but you got to play the cards that you are handed. We've seen Pat get his starting role taken by Alex Caruso and Javonte Green. So Billy has gone that small before. If you think about it in the way of Josh Giddey maybe being the DeMar Rosen role, you still have a 6'8"-ish guy out there on the court. So I understand that maybe matchup wise, it'll be tough to do that some nights, but I definitely want to see how Modest looks with this starting group and what he can do to help them defensively, offensively too, but more so just defensively. Like how can he help Vooch, covering at the rim, being the backside, the low man, defending the rim, because we've seen how instinctual he is, which has also been fun to watch. So that's something that I'll be looking for come the second half of the season, whether they make a lot of moves or they don't. Like that's something I think that needs to happen, especially if Pat is continuing to be as inconsistent as we've seen.
Okay, my camera's froze, but I promise y'all I'm not asleep.
Is that you, Pat?
Yeah, Oliver in the comments is compared Pat to Kwame Brown. Man, like,
hey, I saw the show y'all did with Peck and Big Dave, and that whole little segment y'all had on Pat, man. I couldn't breathe, man. I couldn't breathe. Had tears in my eyes, gasping for air. That was some cold-blooded stuff, but I totally get it. Everybody's face, like as you guys having the conversation, it was just, oh my God.
It was the lack of awareness and the lack of accountability. I really was good. I've been gunning for Pat. Like I'm like, yeah. Like he's got it in him. He's got it in him. But it was that interview that one just pushed me over the edge. I'm like, where is the awareness? What you mean? Like, look at yourself in the mirror right now.
Yeah,
What are you talking about?
yeah, Drew, you just showed my memory. Yeah, because when I saw that clip, it was like it was almost like Pat was like talking like somehow like like a kid, like parents just like a couple of feet away, but then they get real cool and they think, oh, let me cuss real quiet. So, like I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? Are you trying to call them out right now? Are you having this kind of season?
Yeah.
Yeah, like Melissa mentioned, we had talked to Pat's brother a couple seasons ago, and Pat's brother said that Pat is more comfortable coming off of the bench.
He said that? I mean,
Yeah.
that was his role at Florida State, so I get it.
Yeah, I mean,
he always said that he's just like willing to help. He's like a team player more than anything. Like he's not worried about his own stats or like getting his own shots off. Like he's always willing to he's a willing passer, which cool, but we're not even seeing that. All we really want is just the effort. That's really it. But we're not even seeing we're not even seeing that.
Yeah, it was like, Pat likes to be on the bench and see how the game is going so he can figure out, oh, what can I do to help with what the game is given right now. So, it may be better to put Modest out there in the starting lineup and let Pat come off the bench. He just might be better as a bench player.
Yeah. We just accept who he is and not who we wanted him to be before. I mean, I don't have those same expectations anymore. Not that I did before, but I definitely had higher expectations for him. And it wasn't even because he was fourth pick, but The
highlights, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But at this point, man, it's not even about those high expectations anymore. It's just like just play with confidence and play with pride and play like you care and play like you know that you are in the NBA, like you made the NBA, you're here, you're in the league, like play like it, like mentally.
Yeah.
I'm not even expecting any semblance of Kawhi at this point, like not even close.
Yeah, no, just be the best Patrick Williams you can be, man, for real.
Yes.
For real. And he tends to take, in my experiences with Pat, if you ask him something about, individual goals or something of that nature, he has a tendency to flip it back to the team, which speaks to the conversations you had before with Pat's brother. And I want Pat to express himself more in terms of what he's looking for from himself.
Mm-hmm.
Like what do you want? Like, I understand, you're for the team. That's great. Like, I think everybody should be for the team. You should want the best for your teammates and to be a part of a winning basketball team and winning culture. But you have to have some kind of goals for yourself, like whether it be stat based or something else. Like, there has to be something, I think, that you're shooting for. Not quite like what's your why, but just what are you looking to achieve on a night-to-night basis? What are things that you are demanding of yourself on a night-to-night basis,
Exactly. And that's just part of being a team player. Like, you have to have these standards for yourself and expectations for yourself. You're a contributing part of a team. Like, that's just team 101. Like, you have your own standards and things that you need to do to help the team.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, this conversation about Pat will just oh, Pat, we want better for you. That's all.
Yeah.
Real.
Yes. Drew, so a thought pops into my head, and it's probably appropriate given like kind of the trajectory of the Bulls franchise. I mean, they've been like really into nostalgia, and I feel like we here at Bulls on Tap, we should have our own nostalgia bit. I mean, like, you started writing in Bulls on Tap. And like, we should talk more about, like, you've been on an amazing trajectory over the last couple of years, honestly, in terms of like the kind of coverage you've been doing for the Bulls, right? you came in at Bulls on Tap at a point where like AK was just getting started, right? And like the peak of probably his regime, like was when you were getting started. Like if like I guess if you had to do like a retrospective between like what you're experiencing right now being like this close to the team versus like what was like in your mind and what were you feeling and observing at that point where like AK got started on his tear, like turning over this roster, and like what has that journey been like for you trying to cover this team over the last 4 seasons?
Man, so I appreciate that, man. Let me try to figure out how I can answer this question. I think it's been a hell of a ride. I am so grateful to, War Radio, War Media, We Are Regal Radio. That led to On Tap, which led to the Bigs, which led to CHSN. Like, it's crazy. I never expected to be here. It all started from like the pandemic and watching The Last Dance and feeling that urge to write again because I graduated from SIU Carbondale with a degree in journalism, but just kind of set it on the shelf for a little while and got into the health industry. It's just crazy. Life is crazy, man. It takes you on a winding road and it's unpredictable as hell. But I think that when you apply yourself to certain things, like, man, just doors just open up for you. All of us, whoever it may be, whatever you're calling, you feel like it is, whatever, keeps your heart beating on a day-to-day basis, man. You follow that and life will take you places for real, for real. I think that if you're asking me to kind of merge that with what I've seen with this Bulls team, I think I've shed some of my fandom as I've kind of gone through each door. Maybe naturally, because I've been able to get closer to this team, and I've been blessed to be in a position that I am and to see things on a different scope, on a different side. But the excitement that I had for the Bulls, the excitement I had for this regime, for AK, it was at a level when he first came in that just is not there right now. There is really no excitement because they haven't really given me reason to feel excited for the direction of this team. I don't know, guys. Like the front office, AK in particular, like he made Ross Penn change his name from Arturas Fan Club back to his government name. Like that's wild. That's wild, man.
And then he went one step further, actually. So the Arturas Current Shows Fan Club is actually the Arturas Current Shows Hate Club.
I didn't know.
Oh yeah. It's wild. It's so wild.
Wow. See, man, that's crazy. That's crazy. If it is fear or whatever it is that has paralyzed him, AK I'm speaking of, in terms of making moves since that first big offseason he had, like, I think I would be more fearful of where things are going if I continue to be inactive. Like, there's a growing angst among this franchise, man. He may not see it at the United Center on a night-to-night basis, but a lot of fans they want something fresh, man. And I'm not saying that, he should lose his gig, although, a lot of people can have their own thoughts about that. But they just want something fresh. Like, show us something else. Like, you had the gumption to make those moves, to trade for Nikola Vucevic, to make the deals that you swung before the 21-22 season. So something is in you, but where is it? Why'd you lose it? You can't be afraid. Like, if you are going to be paralyzed by what may not become of a draft pick that you select, what may not hit in free agency or through a trade, you might as well hang it up, man. Let somebody else come in, let them implement their own vision and try to get this thing moving in a direction that Bulls fans can be proud of, instead of having to rely on the 90s Bulls and Derrick Rose and what those teams meant to Bulls fans. You know, there needs to be a new history with this team, something fresh for fans to look forward to. What is there to hope for right now? He can provide some of that depending on what he does at the deadline. He can inspire, re-inspire some portion of the fan base, I'm sure. Some people may not ever, you know, be back in line with this front office again because of what's happened recently. But I'm sure that if he does certain things, if he shows that he has learned from some of the mistakes of his past, it will go a long way in helping his Q rating, I'm sure.
He needs something because I think this season in particular, really starting with like just the moves he made in the offseason, it's kind of made me kind of come full circle with the whole Garpax regime. And honestly, by the time like Garpax was sort of like, I guess call it replaced or whatever, I probably was ready. Like I welcomed that change. I was good for it. But you start thinking about like now, you know, there's enough body of work, there's enough data here on Acme. You know, Acme versus Garpax. I don't know if I'm at a point anymore where like I can be like as critical as perhaps I used to be about Garpax before AK, because the thing that I think Bulls fans should at least like put this into context, like the Pax part of Garpax was surprisingly effective in retrospect. And I don't think John Paxson specifically is getting enough credit for turning around a very dark, bleak period of Bulls history in between the end of the dynasty and the beginnings of that baby Bulls era. I mean, basically everything that happened after MJ left and the firing of Bill Cartwright as head coach, like Paxson cleaned that up quite a bit, and at least made it possible for us to get to a point where like we had the possibility of a second sort of like dynasty type tier of Bulls history. I don't know if AK is ever going to get to that, quite frankly.
Neither do I. With the Paxson part of that, like I think it's one of those things where the latest thing is kind of what sticks in people's minds. So that may be why, you know, his history or his legacy has been affected the way it has been. But I think you're right. AK, for all intents and purposes, has a chance to change his history, change how we will remember him. Again, like is he going to learn from the things that he's done in the past? Will he take a step in the right direction, or the direction that a lot of people feel like he should go in? Like I think that he should not be throwing picks by the wayside or building primarily with players who he feels like are young but are experienced. Like no shots to Josh Giddey, but I don't really have. It worries me with this front office trying to build not necessarily around Josh Giddey, but Josh Giddey forces you to build in a certain way, you know, and it makes me even more fearful about if they do end up re-signing him, what that's going to look like moving forward in terms of not only, you know, contracts and how that's going to affect what the team can and cannot do, but also just the other players that can be on this team and how he can design it so that it actually can contend, like, you know, defensively especially. You know, you got to have that structure there.
Yeah, I mean, we wrote about it over the summer in the offseason. We probed into the Jamal Collier piece that went real deep into like the background of the front office's thought process to even get to that Josh Giddey move. And the point that we called out that was concerning, frankly, is it really feels like the Josh Giddey decision to bring him into Chicago, like it's almost like another sort of flavor of a different kind of nostalgia or a different type of sentimentality where, like, you know, Jamal Collier's piece talking about how, you know, AK and Mark Eversley, to paraphrase them, they were trying to find the 2021 magic again. And it's like, okay, it's 2024. Like, you should be looking forward. Like I like that piece was incredibly damning to me. In all seriousness, about like
Yeah.
the wherewithal and sort of like the direction and the vision that this front office is carrying this franchise right now. Because who is to say that Lonzo, like, with all due respect and respectfully, we only had 32 games of like the whole Lonzo Ball experience where it's successful, and then the injury happened. But how do you feel so confident about 32 games that like you consider that to be a formula that you should actually go chase again? Like, to me, there's never been a proven season's worth of like, yeah, let's keep doing this Lonzo Ball hitting transition type stuff. Like, I think there's even like the whole running fast and running gun stuff right now. Just we're kind of like going through a lost season where it's like maybe this is the opportunity for you to really like rethink your whole identity and offensive philosophy this season and go get a roster that fits it, because this roster right now certainly doesn't fit it. So it's kind of like, I'll go back to the point you mentioned, like every time you walk into that presser room, what are we doing?
Yeah. And Billy says that this is the way he wants to play, which in hindsight, after the fact, like a day or two later, I was kind of like, wait, you want to play fast, but the front office went and got DeMar DeRozan a few years ago. So it's like, how aligned are you two really? I don't know, man. Josh Giddey, again, man, it's nothing really against him. It has a lot to do with what Arturas wasn't able to get in addition to Josh Giddey, and that piece that Jamal wrote for ESPN and the front office saying that they had their Lonzo Ball. Like, it's like a Chrysler 300 looked like a Phantom until the Phantom pull up next to it, Like, come on, guys. You know what? I just don't. The rationale, man. Again, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Brett the Rebel says, do you think we make a move at the trade deadline or stand pat, no pun intended, for a fourth year straight? My frozen image right now is AK at the deadline.
Yeah, this is not so much of me having intel as it is just basing it off of what we've seen and what we've heard. I don't think we'll see that. I don't think we'll see him make a move. Again, I hope I'm wrong, and I hope that he does some of the things that I would like to see him do. But at this point in time, I'm worried. I don't see it. I'm fearful that, again, he's going to get caught up looking at the standings and how far the Bulls are away from having a bona fide playoff spot. Because as we speak today, like I said, they're 4.5 games out of 6. I just think that's going to be too much for him to overlook in terms of changing this team around so that they keep that pick and get worse, so to speak. So now my door opened behind me. My cat just I heard it, then I saw it. I'm like, hold on.
Your cat's ears perk up when we talk about AK's reckless decision making.
So I think what the other day I read, like we had like a 3% chance to get a top pick. Did the loss to Atlanta like boost that a little bit?
Yeah, so I was looking it up. So I mean, a little bit. So now they have a 4.5% chance of landing the top pick. A 20.3% chance of that pick falling in the top 4, and a 96.8% chance that they'll keep it all together as of today. I think a lot of Bulls fans are secretly becoming Sixers fans and hoping that the Sixers get their what together so that they can push past the Bulls. But that's a mess over there too for different reasons. I don't know, man. It's like I said, they kind of played their way out of being able to guarantee themselves of keeping that pick. Like I think the best they'll be able to hope for before the actual lottery is like 9th or 10th. And then just letting the chips fall where they may and hoping that Lady Luck falls on their side again.
Yeah. It's just that's not an ideal place to be. And it just feels like it's kind of it's just an aimless sort of front office posture.
Yeah, the running of the Bulls is in place. Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, we're like the people that participate in the running of the Bulls, where we're like getting the horns up our ass because like, we'll be right here again next year. Like, if we do keep the pick this year, thinking about, hey, are we going to lose the pick next year? Because what is top 9 protected?
Top 8, I believe.
It's going to be top 8.
Yeah.
So we have to hope we can get a pick this year, and then hope to be worse next year to keep that pick.
We'll be 17 and 24 this time next year.
Yeah. In an ideal sense, yeah, like you would hope like they keep the pick this year, and then you basically need to like gut the roster this summer to make sure, you a lot of people keep saying the phrase like, they basically Bulls need to turbo tank, basically. And make sure like, go ahead, Drew.
And I was gonna say, which is why it would behoove them to see what they can get for Kobe and Ayo. And believe me, like I got a lot of respect for those guys, every guy in that locker room, and it's been a pleasure to watch them develop and grow. But the position that the front office is in, like they're in a position where they have to see what they can get and seriously consider moving those guys to get back assets. I'm not sure who else on this roster is going to give them the type of assets in return they could get for Kobe and Ayo, who, again, are on contracts that should look attractive to other teams in the here and now. It looks more attractive to them now than it's going to be in the summer when they'll be on the last year of their deals and they'll be owed money going into the season after.
Yeah. I mean, it's like basically 3 recurrent themes of mistakes that Arturas Karnisovas has made over and over. I mean, like the overpays to extend guys. We've seen that holding on to guys too long when they could have, like when he could have cashed in value. And that's like definitely Kobe and Ayo are at risk of. And then it's just I'll just aggregate the whole thing. Just like his draft process. Like I think that's the perfect way. His draft process on multiple levels has been very suspect because, like, one, just dispensing the capital willy nilly, but then also like, what is the scouting process that's gone into the actual guys he selected, aside from maybe Ayo at this point?
It seems to be like wings, not super athletic, but athletic wings who, aren't the greatest shooters. That's what I've seen so far.
And Marcus Simone.
Yeah, I was just saying Marcus Simone. Exactly.
That was perfect timing. Perfect timing.
But yeah, even with like Dalen, I mean, I know Dalen has much room for improvement, but he's never really gotten not too much chances to develop. So, and he was our draft. Like, he was drafted. I don't understand. I really don't. There's much that I don't understand about the direction of the team, especially with us having like, they went and got a whole like development team. Like, what do they end up doing? What are they doing with Dalen? Like, Dalen's not getting any playing time. And again, I know that we're supposed to be, according to Billy, we're like in a we're trying to win. But I mean, even last season, he didn't barely get any playing time. I'm just confused about a lot of things.
It's been sporadic. We've seen THT be the 6th man sometimes. Sometimes it has been Dalen. Last night it was Julian, if I'm not mistaken.
I love Julian.
Yeah, he plays with a motor. He is that type of player that,
yes,
in terms of his motor, you don't have to worry about that. Like, what you're going to get. He may not be knocking down his threes, but that he's going to attack the glass. He's going to fight defensively. But you can't really say that about Pat. Like, you really don't know exactly what you're going to get on a night-to-night basis. You have a good feeling that it's likely going to end in 9 points and 4 rebounds, but in terms of like how you get there, it's kind of up in the air. And again, to that point, Melissa, like when they drafted Dalen, they were still trying to be competitive.
Mhm.
So it was also kind of weird because it's like, why would you get somebody as raw as Dalen was if you're trying to be a more competitive team? Like, why not get somebody who has more of a pedigree or is a little bit older or is a little more polished, who has more of a specialization that would fit that team at that point? Just mismatched things going on, man. A lot of mismatched things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That side says it all.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of sighing last two years.
Yeah, haven't we all?
Like,
Yeah.
especially last night. It was like, man, keep Ayo, keep Julian, keep Modest. Everybody else can go, and that includes the people that mop the floor, the water boys, the swinging singers. Like, they can all go.
Yeah.
People been slipping left and right. Side note, like in unrelated news, on the floor. Like I don't know, but they gotta do better on cleaning the floor. It's completely side note from everything, but
Yeah, it almost messed THT up. Thankfully,
Yes.
he got out. It seems to be without too he's not too worse for wear, but it was crazy. It was crazy. Like Three Stooges out there.
Shout out to
Yeah.
Alonzo. He said that he missed the Vooch trade conversation. There's really not much of a conversation. I still hear the Warriors are interested, but
Yeah.
What are they
That's
willing to
about it.
give up? Yeah,
Right.
it's kind of, and I'm sure it's there's a method to the madness with Draymond Green and Steve Kerr and Stephen Curry coming out and talking about how they don't want to mortgage their future for immediate help. That just doesn't. I don't understand that. Like, you guys are not at the beginning of your careers. Like, I imagine they want to be competing for championships. And while there's something admirable of trying to do it with all the pieces that are already in house, like, they could use an upgrade, if they're really going to get back to the mountaintop again. And again, maybe that was just double talk to drive prices down or to infuse their teammates with a certain amount of confidence, but it just didn't. It kind of did one of those moments when I read that.
To be honest, outside looking into another NBA's team, it kind of almost feels like, honestly, it's a different flavor of Billy being, I'm going to paraphrase Joe Cali, being a shield for Arturas, right? Like, it kind of feels like Steph and Draymond are kind of covering up for our old beloved friend Mike Dunleavy Jr. Like kind of seems like it's time for Dunleavy to step up and decide, like, are you going to actually leverage what's left of Steph's prime or not?
Yeah, man. It's now or never almost. Only got a limited amount of time, and I can't see them ever trading him. Like, what's the end game?
No.
What's the end game?
Sounds like the Bulls. What is the end game?
Yeah. Well, the Bulls get to do it one more time this week against the Hornets Friday.
Hey, we get Lonzo and LaMelo, fourth ever meeting.
I already know what song they're gonna play at the United Center.
Man, I saw the Bulls social team sending out like,
Ooh.
what did it say? Swerve over to the United Center for yada yada yada.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah. So it's taking on a whole different. It's Jello has become like a category on Heads Up, like the pop the pop trends category. But kudos to him. He's got a record deal now. I guess it comes with his own label and his own rights to his music. So that's dope. That's dope.
Yeah. No, Def Jam, I joked what? Yeah, Def Jam, they gave him an MLE before the league did.
They did. They really did.
From all intents, I've seen tweets of the injury reports say that both Lonzo and LaMelo are on track to play, because the last couple of times we've been like, oh, we're gonna see Lonzo, LaMelo coming up, and then LaMelo doesn't play.
Yeah, neither one of them are on the injury report. So, if I'm not mistaken, I tweeted that a little while ago. I don't remember seeing either one of their names. Of course, we know Lonzo didn't play Wednesday because he's not playing back-to-backs. But yeah, man, it should be good to go. You know, knock on wood. Hopefully nothing happens between now and tomorrow night. So we at least have that to kind of look forward to in terms of as marquee a matchup as we can get right now.
Has there been any sense of Lonzo maybe eventually being cleared to play in back-to-backs?
So Billy was asked that recently. I think it's something that they may look into after the All-Star break. I know Lonzo talked about how his minutes restriction may get amped up a little bit higher. I think he's like 25 minutes, I think might be his limit right now. But they're trying to be as careful as they can be just because of the natural, newness of what he's gone through and what he's doing right now. Like, they don't want to jump the gun. They're being extra cautious. Billy talked about on media day how, it's not just about this season for Lonzo. He wants to make sure that Lonzo can have a career after this season, wherever it may be. So they're going to slow play it. But he looks like he can. Like, he looks confident as hell. We asked him after one of the games last week, I believe it was, like, do you feel like you can play more minutes? And he said, yeah, like, no second thoughts. Obviously, what basketball player is going to tell you that he doesn't want to play more? But just the look in his eyes, man, and the way that he plays the game, how much fun he always looks like he's having, I could definitely tell that he wants to be out there, obviously. And I think that if he could start, I believe that, he should be given that opportunity, because the Bulls need defense in that starting lineup, just defense, period. And again, like we talked about earlier, he's got to be, if not their second best on-ball defender.
Yeah.
Right. He started with the other night when Kobe was out. So he proved he can go out there and start, but who do you push out of the starting lineup? Do you push Pat out and like run a 4-guard lineup?
See, we were talking about that a little bit earlier, more so in regards to Modest, but whether it be Ayo coming back in the lineup, Modest, Lonzo, I think you could get away with that on some nights, because Josh, I think, would be in the starting lineup if only for his size and the fact that he can rebound. I just don't know how soon that's going to happen. I doubt that they push Josh Giddey out of the starting lineup because they want to give him ample opportunity to be the guy who they think he can be, and the guy that they traded the heart and soul of the last 3 years teams, or at least in conjunction with Lonzo that first season they were together. Like, they pushed him out for or at Alex Caruso's expense. So they're gonna let him play, or at least start, I think, until they can't, Closing games, that's something else. But they gonna make sure he starts. Oh, for sure. I see this comment. Yeah. Who else would be in the running for comeback player of the year? I saw something like as if there was like a choice. Like,
No,
It's gotta be him.
It's
Yeah.
no choice.
Yeah, it's gotta be. Gotta be so.
yeah,
But-
I'm with you though. Lonzo Ball is definitely the hands down comeback player of the year. They need to bring that award back just for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and going with Lonzo, like he's on an expiring contract. Is there with AK losing Drummond for nothing and him going to the team that was offering picks for him? Is there any rumblings on a trade for Lonzo? Because Lonzo's kind of made it clear that he wants to play with LaMelo, and he could easily just go to Charlotte next year and play with LaMelo.
So I have not heard anything that has any type of legs in terms of what the Bulls can get, or anything of that nature. The caveat to that is Lonzo he said at some point in his career, like, he put that mix on it. He wasn't like saying he wants to play with him right now. But given the fact that we've seen him go through injuries, and time is not promised to anybody, especially not Lonzo or LaMelo for that matter. The Ball brothers, man, just been ravaged by injuries. But no, I have not heard anything. We just saw Josh Okogie net the Suns Richards and like 3 second-round picks, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Lonzo's got to be worth some picks, you would think. But again, I'm no intel right now. I'm still kind of building that, but you got to imagine that he'd be worthwhile piece for somebody's contending team.
Or, I mean, at bare minimum, because Lonzo is an expiring contract, that has become a valuable asset because of this new CBA, because the expiring contracts are what teams are seeking out to avoid the aprons.
Yeah, my only thing with that is, would that other team want an asset for taking on that expiring contract? You know?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it depends on the situation. I would logically think if it's a deal where Lonzo's going to that team so that team can escape the apron, I feel like the leverage is in the Bulls' court then in that way, because it's the Bulls helping out the team get out of those apron penalties.
Yeah. Leverage in the Bulls just.
But also, we talk about leverage in the Bulls. So.
I'm with you though, man. It's wishful thinking though until we see it actually play out. You know,
like I'm just saying, like LeVar Ball has been saying like forever. He wants all three of the Ball brothers on one team. Lonzo could go sign with Charlotte. They could give LiAngelo a two-way deal and then just play tweakers as their intro for the team. You got a whole Ball brother culture in Charlotte.
Right. That'll create some buzz, no pun intended, for sure.
Yeah. It'll be like Ball brothers big three. Like that's what's gonna happen in like 5 years.
No doubt.
So Bulls have the Hornets tomorrow, and then it's a back-to-back on the weekend because of the Los Angeles wildfires. They moved that game up, so we got Portland on Saturday or Sunday. Sunday.
It could be a Sunday, Monday.
Portland on Sunday, and then the Clippers on Monday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And shout out to Sammy because I saw him earlier saying our conversation was making him second guess getting tickets to the LA game. The Clippers just won by 56 points last night. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your money, but
they were playing the Nets though, and the Nets have clearly picked the lane. Like, no ifs, ands, buts about it.
Yeah. Nets are operating on a different frequency.
For sure. They definitely are. They saw Dennis Schroeder delivering too many wins. They're like, nah, man, this ain't the season. You did a good job getting your trade value up, but now we got to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, man, I guess that'll do it for us tonight. Drew, we thank you for coming on. Do you want to tell the people where they can follow you, where they can read your articles, see the clips of your interviews?
So, man, look out for me on X, Drew_H_Stevens, or Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. I'm calling it X. Twitter. It's more so like video content right now. But be on the lookout for that too. I'm always tweeting about the Bulls, probably an unhealthy amount, but I enjoy like interacting with Bulls fans, basketball fans in general, man. So hit me up. Let's talk Bulls. I like to think that everybody in the media is some sort of a mouthpiece for fans, kind of that conduit between fans and players and front offices. So I want to do the best job I can to be that. So there it is.
Yeah, I want to give kudos to Drew for that because, me personally, honestly, like Drew was like, he's been incredibly like supportive of everything I've done in my own little like personal content journey before I came on the On Tap. It was Drew's writing On Tap that frankly gave me enough, I guess like confidence to like come on board and start writing here, and it's been fun, and I've loved every second of it. I appreciate you, Drew, being an advocate and just giving me like constant support to do this stuff. And I also just want to point out that, like, to me, Drew is very much a representative of like what we're trying to do here on Tap as well. Where we are, like, you know, we're Bulls fans serving Bulls fans, and we just like appreciate you. I feel like indebted to the standard that you brought here, and certainly like Buzz and Goose and so many before us, where like you carry a certain standard, whereas like you're at the forefront of Bulls media now. You know, starting, you know, like you mentioned, you blog, you wore media, you wrote for Bulls on Tap. Here you are sitting face to face with the actual franchise now. And at the same time, you engage with fans so consistently. And I think that's amazing that, you know, you are like, you not being fancy or anything, like you care about fans, you engage fans regularly. And at the same time, you speak on behalf of the fans when you do go in front of the team. So thank you for that. I just think it's an amazing thing. I want to make sure like you get the full praise for that.
Man, I appreciate you, dude. I appreciate you, man. Even for thinking enough of me to ever even have reached out, man. Like that means a lot. The camaraderie that we have means a lot. I know we text when we can. We both can get busy. I wish you were here in Chicago, man, so we could link, but one day we will.
I'm well overdue, man, to get back around there, man. You know, I got my family over in Gary, so it's like usually at least a couple times a year I'm flying back to Chicago and passing through.
My man. But yeah. No, it's been surreal, like we spoke about earlier, man. I know Melissa and Derek, y'all celebrities, y'all been celebrities out here. Yeah, Melissa pop up in my IG feed. She doing Nike promos. She out here stunning on people.
Nah.
Derek was on League Pass, man.
I'm telling you, man. Every time I open up like Twitter, I'm seeing him and Stacey King hugged up. Like, man, this dude here, man. and then you and Hayes, I don't never see y'all in the same Bulls gear twice, dog. Like, y'all gotta have who's supplying y'all, man? Who is supplying y'all all this Bulls gear?
Man, it's different sites, man. It's going to different sites. You know, shout out to the Bulls for the merch they send. Like I'm a moderator for the Bulls official Discord, and you know, Drew, a lot of your tweets I just drop right into the Discord because all your tweets are like real informative or giving like insight on things, or you may have talked to Billy and what Billy said, and like so I'm dropping those tweets right into the Discord.
Wow, yeah, I appreciate that, man. Because I'm telling you, like sometimes I think I'm just out here tweeting myself just into the ether, never knowing where it's gonna go, who it's gonna reach. So I appreciate you saying that, man. Thank you, man.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of all that. Everything has been said already, but same thing. Like you help people see the game from like a different lens, and everything you tweet is super informative. It's just packed with information that people can digest, and people sometimes don't think to look at things from certain angles too. So I've always appreciated seeing your tweets on Twitter since I started becoming active again. Like you have always been one of those pillars in the Bulls Twitter community. So really appreciate that. You've always, like they've already said, been willing to engage with all the fans. And I'm just really proud of your growth. Like it's been really cool to see where you started from when I got on Twitter to seeing you now. So congratulations on everything. Everything's super well deserved, and can't wait to see where you go from here even. So congratulations on everything. We really appreciate you.
Man, I appreciate y'all. It's I want to hold y'all too much longer. If I can get a little deep, like that really means a lot to me, man. I'm one of those people where like compliments kind of go in one ear and out the other, and like negativity kind of sticks to me. I've always kind of been that way, but I definitely appreciate you guys saying that. I didn't know it until I kind of got further in this journey, but man, I struggle with imposter syndrome, something awful, man. And being in that press room with the likes of Casey Johnson and Joe Cowley and Jamal Collier and Darnell Mayberry, Julia Pope, my man Will Gottlieb, like, man, those are people whose work I've been in tune with for as long as they've been covering the Bulls. You know, obviously, it's different time frames in there, but you know, to be in there, to feel like I have a presence, that I'm kind of accepted into that group, man. To go back and forth with Joe yesterday, like, it means a lot, man. I didn't even know Joe knew my name before he had invited me and Terrence and Eugene McIntosh, the co-founders of the Bigs, onto his podcast. I was like, oh my God. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's surreal, man. It's surreal. Like I said earlier, like, whether you're trying to get into something sports-wise, whatever the case may be in life, if you apply yourself and you lead with your heart, like, doors will open up. Doors will open up, man, for real. Mo, man, I'm telling you, you know how we talked about certain things, man. Your path is already written for you, brother. Like, keep pushing through, man. You are awesome. You have taken, and this is not to discredit anybody who came before us. You know my love that I have for Buzz and Goose and everybody that's with On Tap, Tony, my man. Like, you've taken it to a different level. Your tasting flights, like the things that you have, your concepts, your ideas, like, you think out of the box on a regular basis. And I want you to know that you are seen too, man. Keep doing what you're doing. Wherever you want to go, you're going to get there, man. Just don't stop. Don't stop.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you. Yeah. I'm just grateful to be in this position, man, where like, it was almost kind of similar to, like, you mentioned, like, you got back into, like, content, like, because of the pandemic. It was a pandemic thing for me as well. And I'm not going to go all into that at the moment, but, like, it just, the pandemic gave me time to just start thinking about basketball differently. I just start putting my thoughts out there through the Bird app, and then one thing led to another. I mean, it's funny because I could literally just draw the circle between the three of y'all, because I think one of the first people that really, like, got into, like, stuff I was tweeting and supporting me was Melissa. And then her and Melissa and Derek, they do this podcast called Nothing But Bull. First ever podcast I was on. And then, like, it just, like, went from there. And then, you know, I got shout out our guys, C-Red UK. They're the first ones that gave me, like, my first writing thing ever. I did guest blog posts. The second one I did for them was the one where Buzz saw that and then brought me into On Tap. And it's just, you know, it's the power of our Bulls community. It's amazing what we can, like, how we collaborate together as a community, and then, like, the way we go back at each other and support each other. It's something I can't fully put into words, because it is amazing. And it's like, it is a big, like, just wave a positive energy we get out of this, even though this team is dumb and stupid sometimes, and, like, the dumbest team ever, but we still come together for this stuff. And I think that's a testament to our community, because, you know, it's kind of like, it's like your dumb relative, like, you still love them. You're not going to stop loving them, but it's like, I don't know, it's just an honesty and energy that comes to, like, it's very connecting.
Yeah, it is. The Bulls community is dope. One day I hope to make it out to one of the Bulls, like, rendezvous that you and Ramina have.
Yes, come through.
Which Alonzo is asking, watch party.
I know we haven't done one this season, but we're on it. We're gonna get around to it. We've both been kind of busy, but that's definitely in the plans, hopefully in the near future. But yeah, it's been great. This community, yeah, just love it. And Morris, it's those game day threads of yours that caught my attention. I'm like, yeah, this guy is really great. Like, he knows this stuff. So yes, the power of the community, and, like, knowing that, like, we're all so passionate about this team, even though I can say a lot of bad words, but I won't. But, like, yeah, the power of this community, it's beautiful. And there's so much creativity and so much passion in this fan base. Yeah. So yeah, us against the world. And hopefully one day the Bulls will get a little bit better. Imagine how that will be.
No, speaking of the Bulls community, shout out to the Madhouse on Twitter, which is a big group chat of Bulls fans, and me and Drew have been in for, like, years.
Yeah, really have a lot of arguments in there that I don't even get in. I just watch them. I'm just like,
right.
I'm not stepping foot into this.
It's like I know we, like, been going long, but, you know, shout out to the 174 people that are still watching or rocking with us.
There's 174 people watching this?
Yeah, it's 175 now. 175 people are currently watching live. Shout out to all of y'all.
Appreciate it.
Like what Melissa said about Moore's game day chats. He's recently been doing like a mock trade
Oh yeah.
trend where he's like making trades as the Bulls GM, and check that out. Like,
Yeah.
you want to speak on that real quick?
Yeah, let me. Because it's like I probably got some trades waiting for me now. Now you just jogged my memory about that. Let me give a good shout. So it's a really cool outlet out there. They're called the Center Hub, right? And it's a collection of just cool guys, and they talk about basketball and like they talk about basketball in a way where it's like it's just needed. Like we've heard all these stories over the last month or so about like, oh, the NBA ratings are down, NBA has problems, too many threes, blah, 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 all this stupid stuff. But like they talk about the game, and it's a collection of just like many content creators across the whole league, basically covering the game in like authentic ways, in good ways, informative ways, and also ways where people involved, like they teach you about the business side of it as well. Wow. And that's what's the interesting thing about this experience right now. So like I got invited to be a part of this. There's a full-on mock representation of the 2025 trade deadline, and so I'm in AKC. I'm representing the Bulls. Is the front office, like head honcho or whatever. It's been an interesting experience because it really puts you in a good real life like thought exercise about like what are the sort of things you need to think through in order to get these deals done. And I love it, honestly. I mean, I have a business background. I went to business school I went to graduate school for business and all that stuff. So in a way, it's kind of like doing like a case study kind of mock thing again. But yeah, follow along. I've been tweeting out the deals I've been doing just to give Bulls fans like at least some glimmer of hope of like what could be if you had a motivated front office executive like me. But yeah, I'm doing deals, man. That's the way it should be. We should be making deals. We should be gutting this roster. Like, I don't know what the integrity of competition means. What I know is like, are we going to get better or are we going to not get better? So I'm trying to make the Bulls better.
I got to ask you, doing that, has it given you a different appreciation for AK, or are you still like,
I will say this. I may like take my foot off the gas about the Zach thing because like even in this mock thing, like I can't get Zach moved. Like I tried. I don't think Zach going
nowhere. Who have you moved so far?
Yeah. So let me recount it. My first here's the savvy business move thing I did up front. So I was able to renegotiate. We got that fake Portland pick. Worked with Portland, renegotiated. Sent them back their pick, but Portland gave me 2 second-round picks. So turn that first-round pick that's never going to be a first-round pick that would convey into a second round, turn that into 2 second-rounders. So, like, increasing the pick count there. I think the big one that really, like, woke up the whole group and, like, everybody's like, oh, wow. So I shipped off Io, which I know everybody will hate, but, like, shipped Io to Houston for – Phoenix's 2027 unprotected first round pick, which is going to be pretty valuable, I think. And then Jock Landale, which is that's a good cost control center, actually, when you look at his deal. And the reason why that's valuable is because I was able to send Vooch to the Dubs. So Vooch, TC, and then I think THT as well, like all went to Golden State. So those are ones that are fresh off the top of my head. I might have another one. And then I'm just going to guard myself because I don't want to accidentally disclose something I probably shouldn't be doing.
Don't do that. You got to keep it airtight. Keep it to the vest.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope you appreciate this transparency from the benevolent AK. Not AK. See, I'm trying to set an example. This is how a front office executive talk about your deals, perhaps. Talk about what you want to do.
I appreciate it, Mo. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Mo is like AK in another multiverse. And once again, my frozen image is AK now. So
yeah. No, I've never been Bizarro World AK. The stuff I've been doing, I don't think we ever gonna see the Bulls do.
He's Antonio Carnachovis.
Yeah.
Antonio.
I like that. I might have to get that made on a t-shirt.
But
Oh,
we'll go get up out of here. Morris, like I said, you plugging your your Antonio Carnosaurus trade on Twitter. Follow those chats.
yes.
Please like and subscribe to this channel. You can leave comments that I know you leave comments that pop up in the chat, but you can leave comments also just on YouTube. But until me and Melissa are back again, should be actually with Hayes, as Drew brought up. Hayes should be the next guest on this podcast. We'll figure that one out. But until then, go Bulls.
Go Bulls.
Hey.